issued one and has also helped in developing this one. It also provides the ability to submit feedback, to get feedback from the people. I mean, I felt an earthquake, the level, the intensity, and so on. So all this information can be processed at a later stage. And also, we are building an educational hub which intends to make the people more aware about earthquakes, more aware about what to do and what not to do during those moments, let's say those critical moments, and also to provide them some tips and advice of how to resolve problems they have at that time. So the system will also provide geotechnical damage information, except for buildings and so on, infrastructure. I mean, there will be presentations at a later stage from my colleagues who are not here at the moment, but they are going to describe everything in detail. So I should not waste your time. You can see a part of the network. As I said, NIEP is a huge supporter and contributor. AFAD also. And REDACt, we have a lot of very extended networks and so on. And you can have a look at the first, let's say, version of the smartphone app, which has already been developed. It's in the Google Play. You can download it. But it's going to be improved. Translations in, the point is in Romanian and English, but translations in Turkish and Greek will also follow. I think that Dragos Tomadanila is going to present a lot more. And I will focus on the educational part of the public, let's say, response improvement part. We asked the authorities which are the problems which are related to the public during an emergency in Greece. People, the Earthquake Protection and Planning Organization. They said panic, traffic jams, which is a problem for the civil protection authorities also, unawareness of safe locations, the time they can stay there, and so on. So we started thinking about the reasons. Which are the reasons for panic, for instance? The main reason is that people do not comprehend actually what is going on. They cannot, understand the level of the risk at a realistic, let's say, point. They think that something huge is going to happen. The earth is going to open and swallow them. But it gets intensified by concerns they have or other things. Traffic jams, of course, if people are panicking, they go into the streets, they get into the car, they go 100 meters, they get jammed, and that's it. Unawareness of safe locations, this is easy. We can provide a map. They don't know how to navigate. Maybe the map can have navigation capabilities. And it should be accessible, and this is the key point, at the time of the emergency. So we should think about communication, which is operational at that moment. And we need to do something to keep it operational in that sense. So we did some research. I mean, there's previous research, a lot of work has been done internationally regarding concerns of people during an emergency, what people care about during an emergency. First thing is the personal interest, about themselves. Am I hurt? Am I safe? Self-preservance, let's say, instinct. And then about people they care. Their kids, their parents, their pets, their house, at a later stage, their car. And then they think about, I don't know, the electricity network and whatever else. So what intensifies the sense of panic at the moment are those concerns. Where are my kids? I need to get in the car and go and find them. So, okay, we need to respond to those facts in order to help the public or to provide to the public, let's say, choice. You can do this or you can do that. And we also thought about, again, based on already conducted research, psychological research, we thought about why people do see signs and recognize warning signs and do not follow the rules. What do they do it? There are a lot of reasons. To cut a long story short, because of because they have some, they have been through similar cases and nothing has happened to them. So they have a specific experience, let's say, about this matter. Because it so happened and they survived last time. Because they believe in things. They believe that, there's a lack of chips because they are using it in vaccination for COVID. They have their own beliefs, or they have their own plans. I need to be at home at 8 o'clock. I mean, okay, so I need to evacuate the building. I'll use the elevator. It's like 20 seconds. In 20 seconds, I'll be downstairs. Why use the stairs? So I say use the stairs, but I can do it. So an idea is, for those people, they make a scenario in their head that everything will go as planned, as they think that it will go. They will be safe, and they do it. And they don't follow the rules. So we thought about, providing some tips in a different way. Let's say instead of saying to somebody, use the stairs to evacuate the building, you can say, if you don't want to spend hours locked in an elevator in a dark, abandoned building, don't use it to evacuate. Use the stairs instead. So that's another idea of providing tips and information. So to sum everything up, people need capabilities to comprehend and evaluate the risks at the level, at a realistic level, and not to panic, I mean. So they need situational awareness, not the kind of situational awareness authorities need, about their concerns, their kids, their house, what is of their interest. And they also need the capacity to react. They need the tools and the training to do something. And that can be provided by targeted education. And this is the educational hub. The entire hub is what you see on the right side. In the second part, if there is time, I can just enter the website and you'll see it, and I'll explain everything there. Everything is here, but it will also include some manuals regarding the platform, for instance, of the smartphone app, and some, simplified, popularized, let's say, texts, 3-4 pages regarding the earthquake and the way earthquake waves, seismic waves, walk through or move through to finally cause some damage in buildings, and some things people should know and should easily understand. And the next steps, of course, with the great help, as I said, of the entire team, is to add to the educational hub a quiz, which will demonstrate, will provide to kind of self-assessment to anyone who wants to see the level of preparedness he is into. And we also have some other ideas, like the one you said. You see the map on the top left is these are safe locations, the hexagonal points, and around them is the part of the city from where people can walk there in 5 minutes, no more. So you can see on the second map is the same city, Komotini in Greece. You can see the part of the city which is covered by those safe locations, let's say, in that sense. And you can see also parts of the city where are multiple choices for a citizen. And then we can see population density, and we can, combine that information with additional information like activities during the day, like the location of schools, like, let's say, the needs we have to protect people into safe areas and the location of safe areas, and then try to regulate somehow where people should go and so on, and provide this kind of information with another smartphone app, or let's say another version of the smartphone app, or something we are going to develop at the next step. I don't know if I have 3, 4, 5 minutes more to demonstrate, to show you the website, and then I will skip the second presentation. I have to save some time. Do I have 5 minutes, brother? Yes. Okay, perfect. We need a browser. Here it is. Okay. And we need to get, oops. Yeah, that's better. Okay. This is not the browser. It's a browser? Sorry.
Yes.
Please enter the website of the project. REDACt project, REDACt dash project, dash project.eu. Not secure, but it is secure. Okay, this is the website of the project. I would like to invite you to visit it. Translations at the moment are in English and Greek, but the Turks, Can has sent me the Turkish. Soon it will be up and running. And let's have a look at the educational hub. Okay, it starts right here with a slideshow saying, why should we care about earthquakes? It says, you know what? Civil protection has a lot of work to do and a very limited time to do it. And they have to protect everybody. So there's a need for you to do something for yourself, to save yourself and your family, to protect yourself and your family. And you know what? What will happen if an earthquake happens now and everybody picks up the phone to call somebody? The network will be overloaded and there will be no chance of communicating. So what should we do? Use data instead. It has been seen, it has been observed in many cases. Voice does not work, but data works. So let's help everybody communicate. Use data instead of voice. Some ideas like those. Do you know that you can see your family members in real time on a map, on your phone, and exchange messages without a problem? And then you can see your kids as they walk to a predefined, let's say, safe location, and they can see you. Well, which means that you don't have to get into your car and go and see where they are, because they will send you a message, I'm safe, I'm coming to Parkul, I don't know, Uniri. Okay, so some ideas like those, please join and check it. And please, here, there's an email. Send your opinion or your advice or your suggestions. What would you like to be included? And then there are, of course, links to competent authorities. And then there's a table, which is trying to link the risk we are facing. We're not facing a risk of, the ceiling collapsing on our heads. But probably that thing or something, a lamp may fall on my head and injure me. So what should I do? Protect me from the lamp. So this is how it works. I mean, falling objects, fix them on the floor and so on. But still, for those who don't like to read, there is a slideshow, falling objects, fix them, get under the floor and so on. So it works like this. And then if you want to see all the actions you have to do inside the house on a prevention, preparedness, response phase, it's here, collected, gathered. And if you want to see what's outside the house, you need to do outside the house. Some additional stuff is also included, like making a group in WhatsApp or Viber with your family members and pin it up to have it ready, and then click on the said location, and I'm fine, I'm coming. So everything is here, and there is something we added because we need a resilient society to help others. I mean, you have neighbors, people you greet every day. They cannot walk easily. They are elder people, or I don't know. So if you can help them, just do it, but start beforehand. I mean, go visit them, have a coffee, discuss what we will do together if something happens. I mean, they need to trust you to let you inside the house. You need to help them to let them outside the house, and then walk them towards a safe place. And everything is right here. And here are 4 steps on Google Maps, let's say, how to share location in real time. Click on your image because you are logged in Google usually. Share location, click share, select the persons you want to share with, send, done. They can see you like here, on this place, they can see you on a map continuously as you move. And the same with WhatsApp. Click on the small icon here, and then location, and then share location, live location. Select the time, 1 hour, 8 hours. Write a message, I'm safe, I'm coming to the park, and blah, blah, blah, and so on, and send it. And if you want to see it in Google Maps, or no, so like a list, it's being given like a list. Or if somebody wants to get into Google Maps and see their guidelines and instructions, it's already there. And you can see here the map of safe locations for Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, as it was provided to us by the respective competent authority, the civil protection of the regional administration. And these are safe locations. We did reverse geocoding, which means they gave us coordinates, but we found the addresses. So in some cases, the address may say, coffee shop Constantine, but doesn't matter. In most cases, it's okay, and you can just click, you get the information, and if you click right here, you get navigation. I will do it, but you can also click here if you want. You can click here and have it in a different window, just a map, right? And you can do whatever you want with it, or you can use it from within the website. Just click here and then navigate, and it will ask me now, because it doesn't have a GPS, it will ask me where to start from. I will use my current location. I need some help here. My Russian are not very good. Where is current location? This one?
Yes.
Perfecto. Okay. Kidding. Allow. And voila. If you use a smartphone app, it works flawlessly, as you saw it here. It can be accessible at any time by any platform, iOS, whatever. And when you ask for navigation, it asks you, do you want to make the navigation with Google Maps or using the browser? It's your choice. What?
You can't walk this distance.
I cannot walk this distance. I can also,
Very useful when you are in a country and a city that you don't know, and you have this kind of information. It's very useful.
Yes, of course. I mean, we are in a touristic country. We are tourists here, or at least we feel like being, guests and tourists. We don't know where to go. Of course, I don't know. Chișinău, it does not present any problems because it has a lot of open spaces and parks and so on. But visitors don't know where to go, even in Turkey, because AFAD has, as far as Can and Dr. Nulu had told us, they have kind of signs in buildings where to go, but where is this place? So that's it from me. I don't know if there are any questions. I'd be happy to respond. I would like to invite you once more to visit the website, enter the page, tell us what you think about it, what you would like to see, more than that maybe, to improve. Okay, thank you so much for your attention and your patience. Okay, that's it from me. But then next, I'm the moderator, right? Okay. Apologies because I wasted a lot of time. I would like to call Dr. Igor Nipara, the director, activities and implemented projects on seismic hazard and risk at the Institute of Geology and Seismology here.
Konstantinos, thank you for your very interesting topic. It's introduction for activity and project, and it'll be very useful for us.
I'm waiting for the response of the operational part here, because they are the boss, let's say, the top here. Thank you.
We'll be open link of project.
Manoli? I called Nikos and they did not respond. I called them repeatedly.
I will try to call them.
Yeah, but they probably have net data off, and I don't know.
I will call them from my phone.
My presentation will be about activity in our institute, focused and on reduction of seismic risk. It's one of the main topic in activity of institute. Have good experience in this area. Have several important regional projects with colleagues from Romania, from Black Sea region, and colleagues from other country. I will talk only about some results we obtained in last time, but of course it's much more, but not time for us to discuss every result. It's a little about institute, activity in different kind of project. And one of the most important results is map of seismic zoning. It's map elaborated in MSK 64. It's map using, and now it's adopted by law, and using for seismic zoning for territory of Republic of Moldova. Our important kind of activity is microzoning of urban areas for territory of Republic of Moldova. In our legislation, all area with seismic intensity 7 and more must have map of seismic microzoning for urban areas. We elaborate a map for Chișinău city, Cahul city, and in step to finish the map for Comrat city. Our city will be in future, several of them don't have any kind of this map, and we have some gap in legislation, and we must change something, because all urban areas in seismic zone with intensity 7 and more must have this kind of map. And our kind, it's estimation of risk in damage of construction for urban area of Chișinău city, and material lost in estimation of earthquake like it was in 1940. Elaboration of map of seismic distribution in administrative territory and relative seismic risk depend on population, infrastructure, and of course construction. And our next step is implementation of European regulation Eurocode 8, that is in field of seismic resisting construction, and we propose map in terms of Eurocode 8, and it step by step somebody addressed to us, especially foreign investors who try to invest here, estimate construction and make project for construction using Eurocode 8. Our experience, we have regional project Black Sea, in Black Sea region, YESNet in years 12-14. Major institute was National Institute of Physics from Megureli, Romania. Leader of project was Mr. Ionescu, who is present in this room. It was project with colleagues from Turkey, Romania, Republic of Moldova, and Bulgaria. And idea of this project were analysis of legislation in the field of seismic hazard, experience of institution in every country, exchange of experience, and to make teaching for interest people for responsibilities in area of every country. It was good seminars with instruction of responsibilities from civil protection and from other responsible institution in every country. Our project is trans-boundary project, Republic of Moldova and Romania. We analyze seismic risk for Ungheni area, its estimation of seismic hazard for Ungheni district, and elaboration of map of potential seismic risk for Ungheni area from above part of river route, because it's in Republic of Moldova we have city Ungheni. In Romania it's a small village Ungheni and several other villages, but in this project we see it like one new big agglomeration, because in the plan of our governments of Republic of Moldova and Romania, in this area will be new bridge between Republic of Moldova and Romania, and Romanian highway must come at our border, and this area have a good future and development. And in this project we propose study this area, and in this room there are our representatives of our team, also from Institute of Geologie and Seismologie and from Technical University of Moldova, who participate, and main partners, it's Technical University Gheorghe Asachi from Iași, Romania. And same map, one of them it's in terms of destruction for buildings, and other one for house holders. It's all about it for this time. I don't say about our experience in other project. Moni talks, it was our regional project for estimation of seismic hazard in south area, because methodology is same, but other areas was on study. If you have some special problems, I'm happy to give answer. If not, at time of lunch and evening, we can discuss much more details about activity of Institute and our project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Limba. Your institution's performance is impressive in projects, and we also know about their competencies. You perform very well in our project. We are very grateful because you are our partners. I would like to invite, since our friends from Asachi and the Moses University are missing, I would like to invite Vitaly Mutar.
My presentation here?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Sorry, dear Vitaly. Vulnerability of infrastructure to seismic hazards in the Republic of Moldova. Vitaly has a great experience of operations, and we are very grateful because he is a member of our advisory committee and has helped us a lot.
Can I sit, because I don't have possible
Sure.
with glasses
Yeah, no problem.
parallel and read and talk. Thank you very much. Она здесь на рабочем столе. Да. Сверните. Вот так.
Then you will be next if they don't charge.
Charge my computer.
You can transfer it to stick if you want, and then I can provide.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. One more. My name is Vitaly Mutav. I'm a colonel for rescue service in reserve now. At the moment, I represent Technical University of Moldova. I have a head of internal protection and prevention service in the Technical University of Moldova. My short presentation, very short presentation, is about the vulnerability of infrastructure to seismic hazards in the Republic of Moldova. When we talk about the Republic of Moldova, especially in the auditory when we have guests from the other country, we make short presentation. Where are you in Moldova in the map of Europe? How many territory we have and population? For our guests, we talk about the Moldova in southeast part of Europe, near to Romania and Ukraine. Capital is Chișinău city, and area of country approximately 34,000 cubic square kilometers, and population approximately 3.5 million people. Despite the fact that Moldova is considered mainly an agricultural country, we still have an industry, including a potentially dangerous one. You can see in the slide 364 dangerous industrial facilities are located on the territory of Republic of Moldova. In these facilities were more than 2,000 tons of highly toxic chemical substances. It means liquid chlorine, liquid ammonia, sulfur dioxide, ethyl mercaptan, and approximately other 2,500 tons of different types of pesticides in the different objects in the Republic of Moldova. Strong seismic vibrations can harm the protection systems of enterprises and lead to chemical accidents. Electricity and gas supply lines are also under threat of damage. If an earthquake occurs in winter, the heating systems of large cities such as Chișinău city or Belti city may be disrupted. The hydrotechnical infrastructure is represented by the following major hydrotechnical nodes. In the Dnistru River, big Novodnistrovsk Dam in the territory of Ukraine. In the Dnistru River, big dam in Dubasari Dam in the territory of Republic of Moldova. And in the Prut River, Kostești-Stinke Dam in between the Romania and Moldova. This hydrotechnical node, all decisions about the using of this dam make jointly with the government of Romania and Moldova. There are also several large reservoirs that hold from 10 to 30 million cubic meters of water. It's Vatra near Chișinău, it's water reservoir near Comrade city, near Danceni, and several others big water reservoirs in the territory of Republic of Moldova. In the downstream of the water works Kostești-Stinke in the Prut River and Dubasare and the Dniester River, protective flood barriers was built on both banks of these two major rivers. As a result of a strong earthquake, any of the listed hydraulic structures can receive critical damage, which in turn can lead to flooding with catastrophic consequences. Another problem that is typical for most of the country is landslides. In the country there are other 15,000 landslides areas with total area 790 square kilometers. It's approximately 2.3% of the whole territory of country. But in some areas damage by dangerous geological processes affects up to 20% of the territory of this region. It is quite obvious that under strong seismic impacts, especially in conditions of increased water saturation of soils, a sharp activation of landslide processes is inevitable over a large area and can cause unpredictable consequences. As we can see from the seismic zoning map of the Republic of Moldova, the highest intensity of earthquakes is observed in the central and especially in the southern part of our country. Forecast calculation on the number of destroyed buildings and structures in the event of design earthquake is mean 7.4 magnitude, give a relatively accurate number of possible losses. A similar calculation can be made for the number of casualties among the population. It follows that the most vulnerable infrastructure is located in the southern part of the country. You can see in the slide the red or orange color. The most vulnerable in a strong earthquake is a transport infrastructure, and this is one of the clear examples of this. 15 years ago, a section of the railway was built in the direction of the new international seaport Giurgiulești in the Danube River. The railroad was laid close to the steep slopes, left side of these pictures, and near to the bank of the Prut River, right side of this picture. I especially select this picture because we can see and potential danger substances in the railroad, transboundary river in the right side, and steep slopes, in the landslide sector in the left part of this picture. In this summer 2022, there was a sharp activation of landslide process. There was a threat of collapse of soil massives on the railway and into the river. Hazard substances, petroleum products, fertilizers, and others, in the event of landslides, will immediately fall into the waters of the river, which will already lead to a transboundary effect. Given the proximity of this section to the Vrancea seismic source, even with minor seismic vibration, this section of the railway will be seriously damaged. You can see in the map specific sector place we have landslides activation, Romanian sector near to Galați and Ukraine sector near to Reni. I would like to note that special attention is paid to infrastructure facilities in this part of the country, and not only in Moldova, but also in neighboring Ukraine and Romania. Several large industrial and transportation hubs, it's Galați in Romania, Giurgiulești in Moldova, and Reni and Ismail in Ukraine, are located at a relatively short distance between. By the way, their importance has increased markedly over the past 6 or 8 months due to the temporary suspension of shipping from the Black Sea ports. An accident at any of these facilities will immediately lead to transboundary consequences or even cause an environmental disaster in the Danube Delta region. Naturally, a strong earthquake can serve as an initiation event for this. In the event of a threat or occurrence of natural disasters, accidents, and catastrophes, a system of civil protection has been created in the Republic of Moldova. This system includes commissions for emergency situations at all levels, at facility level, local level, territorial, and nationwide level. Now we don't have enough time for the discussion about this structure. It may be separate presentation in other time. But you can see this system in this slide. Getting the country ready to withstand a major earthquake is a very difficult task. Along the way, we face many challenges. High depreciation of technological equipment, insufficient financial resources, political instability, I mean permanent political instability, deficit of specialists in the field of civil protection, insufficiency of faculties who make education in the field of civil protection. Unfortunately, this is not a complete list of problems when we occur. Employers of the Institute of Geology and Seismologie from Moldova, in close cooperation with representatives of all interested ministries and organizations, are making efforts to minimize these problems through the implementation of various projects, including international ones. One example is the SNET project, within which was developed and presented to the general public a curriculum for the training of specialists in the field of preparing critical infrastructure for strong earthquakes. And pilot seminar was held for such specialists from the southern region of the Republic of Moldova. Another example of fruitful cooperation is the development of a handbook on the rules of conduct during a strong earthquake for 4 categories of population: for school children, for students, for citizens, and for decision makers, in 2 languages, in Romanian and Russian language. It was a joint group represented from 2 representatives from Institute of Geologie and Seismologie, Mr. Alkas and Mr. Iliesh, and from the civil protection system participate me personal and Ms. David Ludmila, co-author of this guide. This process are ongoing, and our meeting with you today is a vivid example of this process. Thank you very much. It was very short. If you have some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dali. Well, I would like to call to stand Maciej Margaris.
Mr. President, give us a short time to think.
Okay. Thank you very
Because
much.
we lost ourselves in a very huge but beautiful city, and please.
Okay, okay. Then you are a volunteer.
Okay.
Professor Zulfikar is a good friend and a colleague and member of the team.
Okay, I will transfer.
He will present REDACt project implementation at pilot site, which ICT in Turkey. Turkey, sorry. Haven't met you yet. I'll try. Firstly, stop sharing. Stop sharing because you show our presentation.
Okay. Yes, that's which one? That one. You can also say sorry. Yes.
Vasilis, θα μιλήσει την επόμενη. Okay. Μετά Νίκος. Και μετά...
Ο Νίκος να κάνει ένα... Έτσι, λίγη ώρα που...
They're suggesting, yeah, they're suggesting a short break for coffee, just, you know.
Because it just arrived.
Okay, all right. Then, okay, after John's presentation, we will have a 5-minute break, let's say 10-minute break.
10-15 is not better.
Have some discussions, so that the colleagues that just arrived adapt to the conditions, and then we will continue. Okay?
Also tell us their adventure. Also tell us, inform us about their adventure.
Yeah, to inform us about their adventure, yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's good being here. It's the I guess second time I'm here. I was here for the SNET project as well, probably 10 years ago. Yeah. And as Gebze Technical University, we are working in the REDACt project, especially in the platform development, REDA platform development. But today I will show you some studies what we are doing in Kocaeli City, which is the pilot site in the project, some implementation works in Kocaeli City. And here some of my colleagues in the project. So first of all, I would like to start with the seismic hazard study in the pilot region, Kocaeli City. So this was also one of our Master of Science thesis study for the seismic hazard study for the region. And we used the shared project active faults, and for each center of the towns in the pilot region, we found the seismic hazard parameters. We used the shared project sources, and we used the historical earthquakes in the region. Again, we received all this data from the shared project. We use the instrumental period data also from shared project, and we use the attenuation relations with the logic tree approach, different logic trees, and we obtain the data. These are the hazard curves for the PGA and spectral parameters for the 0.2 second and 1.0 second spectral acceleration hazard curves for the each town center, and we have the distribution maps. These are all in bedrock site independent, but well, that was the this was the 2% in 50 years and 10% in 50 years in several periods. Then these are the uniform hazard spectrum for each centers we have done. Then using the Walden-Allen topographic based slope based VS30 map, we use the site dependency, and again we have the distribution maps for the PGA at spectral acceleration and uniform hazard spectrum for the region. And then we try to develop the inventory for the region.
So as you can see, these are the towns in the province, in Kocaeli province, and for each town we have the here we have the land use coring data for the year 2006 and for the year 2018, and we worked how we the land use data, how it's developed in the time from the year 2006 to 2018. And this is, as you can see, especially in this is the district where our university is located. The population and the land use is increased in the recent time. And some other inventories, we have some boring log data in the region. We use those data for the site investigation. This is the pipeline data we have, the infrastructure data in the region. And here also we have very small data for the building inventory, that is the called Kuzey Körfez district. We have the building data. So those building data we used for the seismic hazard and risk assessment. For the seismic hazard assessment, we use these attenuation relations, and we applied very typical fragility curve for the region, for the reinforced concrete frame structures for 4 to 6 story buildings, and we obtained the risk for the region. And another inventory we have in the region for the public buildings inventory we have. Now we are around 5,000 building inventory we have, so now we are working to improve this data in the region. So here there are some percentages about this inventory. Most of them the educational buildings, healthcare, hospital buildings, and some administrative buildings in the region. And we have the construction system information and the year of the construction information and number of floors information of the these buildings, and here are the distribution of these inventories. These are all state buildings, the school, hospital, and administrative buildings in the region, so we can use this data for the REDACt project we plan to use. So we work on the hospital buildings and some energy buildings in the region. Some historical buildings in the region. In Kocaeli we have found 138 historical buildings in the region, and we work the risk of these buildings and some historical bridges in the region. So this is in general how we do the risk assessment. First we obtain the hazard curve, and once we have the fragility curves for the typical buildings, we can make the risk assessment. This is the loss curves for the region. So similar study we have done for the industrial structures, and we found the typical industrial structures in the region, because the Gebze region, where our university is located, it is one of the densely located industrial buildings in the region. So we work for the typical industrial buildings. We model their structural system, and we obtain the fragility curves for the typical industrial structures in the buildings, for the industrial buildings. And also, this is another inventory for the highway structures, the bridges and viaducts. We are working in the region. And another study is about the buried pipelines. So I have another presentation for the buried pipelines, actually. Shall I continue?
You should continue. Now, there's a minor problem. The problem is that you wanted a 10-minute break for coffee. At 12:30, in half an hour, we have a lunch break. So I don't know if we should make the break now, or let's wait for the lunch break in half an hour. So Jan, please continue, because this is an interesting matter. I mean, the pipelines and stuff, because it concerns the project directly.
Okay.
Be as brief as possible, and then it's good. Yeah. Thank you.
So this for the damage assessment to natural gas pipelines. This is, we are working with Okan İlhan in the project. This is the T3.4 activity in the project. And what we are doing now for the pipeline damage assessment, now we are working on the existing fragility curves and to develop a logic tree approach for the from the existing fragility curves. Well, here, of course, in the project, we would like to make it in real time. So we will have the real-time data, and we will make the real-time damage assessment for the pipelines. And the real-time ground motion data we will have in the grid-based from the stations, and having the REDACt platform. We will have the inventory of the pipeline network for the Kocaeli city. For the moment, we have the gas, water, and sewage pipeline inventory we have in the region. As a methodology, we compile all empirical fragility relations for buried pipelines, and we propose a logic tree, including different fragility curves for damage assessment. So this is the basic approach. We need to find the ground strain for each grid, because in most of the fragility curves in pipeline damage assessment, they use the ground strain related horizontal particle velocity, and this is the ground strain and velocity, and we have C is the effective propagation velocity. And well, this is the O'Rourke and Ayala approach. They find the repair rate, their approach. This is one of the basic, and this is Toprak's approach, peak ground velocity and peak ground displacement. We plan to use these fragility curves, and this is another one, Soyama, Japan, using the Kobe earthquake damage data. He developed these repair rates. And this is American Lifelines Alliance 2001. They use O'Rourke and Ayala, Toprak and Isoyama empirical relations. Some approaches they use peak ground velocity, and some others peak ground displacement they use. So in it's a bit newer one for the Chen et al. They use for the natural gas, polyethylene, steel, and cast iron types of pipelines. And again, TGV related for the natural gas pipelines and water pipelines. There are empirical relations. Another empirical relation from Huang et al. For the natural gas pipeline. O'Rourke and Leo, Jean and O'Rourke. And I will come to the O'Rourke 2015. This is important because they use the data, damage data from Kocaeli earthquake. So this is improved one, and we plan to use all these fragility functions in the logic tree approach that currently we are working to develop. This is the logic tree approach for the water pipelines and the natural gas pipelines using the PGA, PGV, Arias intensity and spectrum intensity approaches. So, we are currently working to develop the logic tree approach, and hopefully we will complete the work by the end of the project.
Thank you, dear John. Thank you. Basil, to continue with your presentation, we will continue until 12:30, and then we will have a lunch break, which will be a coffee lunch break for those who need it. And next is Nikos Klimas.
Can I use my computer, or can I use my computer, or I should use this one?
Well, until the presentation is ready, let me introduce you, Basil Margaris and Nikos Theodokidis, who's sitting right next to Dr. Konstantin Menescu. They are members of the Institute of Engineering Technology and Earthquake Engineering in Greece. Very strong and high-level scientific team. which highly contributes to the project. Nikos Klinis here is a professor at the Edinburgh University, he's a technical engineer. He will have his presentation. So now we are complete. Basil, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Actually, I would like to ask a big sorry because we are late to reach your institute. Actually, I would like to give you a presentation for this very interesting sightseeing in your beautiful city. But I think it's much better to continue with my presentation.
You can do both.
I'll try later on. Okay. From my point of view, I'll try to give you an idea about our efforts concerning the Rapid Earthquake Damage Assessment Consortium. This project, very interesting project. At the beginning, to say a very huge thanks to Bladder for the accommodation and for help us in this project, and also the coordinator, Professor Papatheodoru. And now concerning our efforts, within the framework of this project, we try to ranking and the selection of ground motion predictive equation for Greece and Turkey in collaboration with CHAN across the border area between Greece and Turkey for shallow earthquakes, and also try to put some extra points concerning the subduction earthquakes, that it's a huge threat for the area of Greece and Turkey as well. My presentation is focused on the scope and the goal of the harmonization of our data between Turkey and Greece. Also to say some words about the seismic source and the refinement of this work. And finally, the ground motion predictive equation selection and testing for Greece and Turkey, because from Romania and Moldova, I think Dragos do a lot of things, and we will see.
Presentation, but there will be legally some also in the discussion.
It's okay. We are looking forward for your results because your subducted seismic events are very, very crucial for us. And some comments and the results for seismic hazard assessments for the Greek eligible area. I mean, for the Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, close to the Turkey. I'll try to give you an idea how is the different seismic source can contribute in seismic hazard analysis. So all the available seismic sources, faults and ground motion predictive equations presented per country. You can see also in this small figure our area, the area of interest, and of course the seismicity models, faults, and ground motion predictive equations in some cases are completely different in both countries, and also in both seismotectonic regimes. Avoiding deviating the results, a harmonization was attempted within the framework of this project, Mr. President. And finally, the harmonization of ground motion predictive equations for selected areas for shallow and intermediate depth earthquakes. We'll try to incorporate in this project. So, this transparent is very useful. Was presented by Dr. Theodulidis, I think, during 2022. And it is representatively describe the selection of the quantitative ground motion predictive equations. We follow some standard procedure, selection for regional and worldwide relationships, application for specific criteria as proposed by Cotton et al., review of the ground motion predictive equations applicability for the range and the dependent variables, and the evaluation of ground motion predictive equations using the criteria as Professor Bomer et al. Proposed in 2010. Testing using data, and of course proposition of the logic trees, a quite important thing concerning the selection of the final ground motion predictive equations, and of course the different weights which can be very useful in our analysis. In this figure, I'll give you our first results that they have been incorporated in the first draft report. You can see all the adopted ground motion predictive equations. With the red one, we can see the final selected that can be seen in this place, where you can see a map with all these red color ground motion predictive models, taking into account the magnitude range, the distance type, and the different type of distances, intensity measures, site classification as well, style of faulting's quite important, and of course the procedure concerning the two horizontal components, taking into account the GMROT procedure or independently adopted of these components. And finally, the region of application. In this one, we can see the two applied methodologies concerning the selection of ground motion predictive equations. Is normalized residual method. That is a very simple methodology. I will not enter describing the methodologies because this is very simple to find it in bibliography. So we use 7 different ground motion predictive models, and we can see that in the first, for normalized residual methods, you can see that the scoring for each one. Also, in order to be more realistic and more close to the reality, we use another methodology, long likelihood method. Also, you can see the ground motion predictive models, and also the corresponding scoring. Finally, using this weighting factor, we conclude into different relationships. Boer et al. For the area of Greece, and also Chiwi and Yaxa is a worldwide ground motion predictive equation. Now, a small, let's say, a small extension of this work have been done during this year with my associate, Dimitris Sotiriadis. We adopted a regional and a global, in a global scale, ground motion predictive models. You can see also all these models from Greece, Turkey, Europe, and also worldwide. And we can see also the same characteristics for each specific ground motion model. In this place, we can see also the results. The results is ready to publish in the International Journal. We are expecting the final decision of the reviewers. And you can see that this is the 11 ground motion models and the total unnormalized weights for each one. And finally, we conclude that those ground motion predictive models are the more pertinent, the more appropriate for our uses. And here is all these 11 models, taking into account the data for the area of Greece, a flat file which has been published in BSSA, and you can see that all the relations are in a good agreement, except in some distances far away, especially for the very small magnitude and also for a very huge magnitude, 6.5. Sorry. Now, taking into account this selection, for the area of Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, this area close to the Turkey border, we try to make some hazard assessments. So we use seismic faults proposed by Papazakos and his collaborators in 2001. And for background seismicity, the SER project. Also, pieces we use seismic faults and background seismic sources also for the same European project. One important thing is we use also the faults and the seismic faults proposed by TAP project. TAP is the Trans-Adriatic Pipeline project for the area of Greece, covering all the Greece from Turkey up to Albania and then this pipeline continues to Italy. So using our, in our case, we use the seismic faults for all these different models. We try to see a comparison and what is the differences, the deviations between the two different models. You can see this is the seismic fault proposed by Papazakos 2001, and also you can see the faults proposed by European model. This is quite important because now with the evolution and the gathering of more specific knowledge and also data, we can also give, also we can have a very clear idea about the seismic faults. Using all these models and this logic tree, quite important is the seismicity models. In two cases we use the Gutenberg-Richter seismicity model, and here we use the geological model which have been adopted by the TAP project. So you can see the difference in seismic hazard analysis. So you can understand how critical is the model with the seismic source adopted in our analysis, and also the data that have been gathered the last 2 decades. In this point, I will stop with our efforts with the project, and also I'll try to give you an idea with what's happened with the intermediate depth in the area of Greece. The intermediate depth in the area of Greece is a very complex situation, and so you can see that the geological settings, that we have the volcanic arc, we have also the Hellenic arc with a different kind of fault mechanisms, and also here you can see a cross section along this direction from north to south. Imagine in this place is Crete. This place is Santorini and the volcanoes, and this is the low Q value area that we have a different attenuation, wave propagation for this area, and also what is the propagation model through this area up to the surface. So based on this, Dr. Skarlatoudis proposed almost 9 years ago 2 different relationships, one for the insular events, I mean events occurred in 60 up to 100 to 20 kilometers, and also interface events which occurred between 40 up to 60 kilometers closer to the along arc and the back arc areas. So this is a first effort that we did, and you can see some first results. This is some regression results between running averages results, taking into account the back arc for different depth variations, 6 up to 80 kilometers between back arc areas and along arc areas, and also 8 up to 100 kilometers is the dashed line. And these thick lines is also for back arc and along arc for very deep earthquakes greater than with a depth greater than 100 kilometers. Also, you can see that what is the difference between PGA and different spectral values, and also you can see that the results between the back arc and along arc, we have a very huge difference in specific hypocentral distances. And so this is some comparisons for a magnitude 5.5 magnitude for the area of Greece, and you can see the presentation of the data concerning our relationships. Now, concerning the evaluation and the selection of the intermediate depth evaluated ground motion predictive models, I selected two different works. One is for the chill subduction zone, prepared by Bastias and his collaborators in 2015. So you can see that the ground motion models that they have been used by those researchers. This is also the characteristics. This is the distribution between rupture distances and moment magnitude for different earthquakes. Unfortunately for us, we have just the opposite figure in the area of Aegean in Mediterranean area. They have a lot of data from intermediate depth earthquakes, but for us, those events are very, very, very rare. And this is the class concerning the evaluation and the scoring for those relationships. And the last, my last transparency is here, is for another work from Arroyo and his collaborators in 2021, evaluation of applicability of current ground motion models for South and Central American subduction zones. Very interesting work. You can see a very huge number of ground motion models have been adopted for this analysis. The region and a lot of parameters for as a criteria for the pertinent selection of the model. And finally, you can see a kind of selection and scoring for all those ground motion predictive models. This is for the Central and for the South and Central America. And also you can see that the scoring for those data. I think, and this is my perspective during this project, is to try to incorporate the subduction ground motion predictive models for the area of Aegean Sea, because it is an area close to the cross-border area between Turkey and Greece, and also we should take into account in this project. Actually, we don't have a lot of time to do in more analytical way, and we can try to do this with some assumptions and in order to keep our work within the time of the project. Thank you very much. If there is any question, thank you.
Thank you, Vasily. Quite interesting, and we are very happy to have a very strong seismological team with IGS, with Zach, with NIEP, of course, Dr. Dragostona, Danila will soon have his presentation. To our operational branch friends, I would like to say, well, this sounds a bit alien, but it's the basic research which ensures that the outputs we are going to provide through the platform will be as, let's say, accurate and reliable as possible, based on hardcore research, as one Marcel presented and as the rest of the colleagues will present. Now, I don't know, are we ready for lunch, or should we proceed with the next presentation and then go to lunch?
I think in several minutes lunch will be ready.
Begin?
Several minutes.
Several minutes. Lunch will be ready.
Everything is here, you'll only prepare.
Okay, so let them prepare it. Nikos, take the floor.
Yeah, but there is also Nikos.
Doesn't matter. Nikos will present right after lunch.
Okay.
He will not mind, I guess. Κυριακή, Νίκος Θεοδουλίδης. Κυριακή δεν το βγήκαμε. But
she would like to present online.
Online.
I discussed with London, and he is going to arrange the meet link after the lunch. So
Very
Kyrgyz
good.
will
Okay,
go ahead.
perfect. So you and her are going to present right
Yeah,
after.
after that.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Nikos Klimis, professor at Democratic University, geotechnical engineer, landslides, liquefactions, geotechnical failures due to earthquakes will be included in our project. So what Vitaly presented regarding landslides and dams, because dams are threatened by landslides, especially. So it would be interesting.
Okay.
Should I say bună ziua to everybody? Well, the subject of my presentation is assessing the landslide and liquefaction hazard at the regional scale, and the idea of the geotechnical module of the project of REDACT. Well, whenever we have some strong earthquakes, there are damages which are definitely related to ground failures, different kind of ground failures, but we will focus only on two of them, on landslides and liquefaction, which are among the most, I would say, important in geotechnical engineering, but not the only one. This module is part of the REDACT system, and it has been tested at the different occasions at the pilot regions where earthquake-triggered landslides and liquefaction phenomena have occurred in the past. Not only in Greece, but abroad as well. In this project, we will incorporate two different methodological approaches. The first one belongs to the physically based models, meaning that there is physics behind what we say ground failure, and the second one belongs to statistically based models. I'm speaking always about landslide hazard. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to use or not to use one of these methods. For instance, for the statistical methods, they are definitely oriented on regional scale, where there is spatial variability of the geological formations and of engineering parameters, and the landslide type is relatively complex. On the other hand, the physically based methods are more engineer-oriented and therefore better conceived by engineers, and decision-making, provided that geological and geomorphological parameters and conditions are fairly homogeneous, and also that the landslide type are relatively simple. On the other hand, they have the privilege to work even if inventories are incomplete or even inexistent. Now, when we say physically based landslide hazard assessment methods, what we mean is that we model slope failure processes, and then we calculate the factor of safety. One of the most well-known and easy to implement, I would say, models is the infinite slope model, which is a suitable model for shallow earthquake-induced landslide. I will not insist a lot on equations. There is no reason in this presentation, but this is the driving equation, where I would just underline that in order to obtain factor of safety, we need parameters, engineering properties, the angle of friction, the cohesion. We need geometrical parameters such as the slope angle. We need physical parameters such as the bulk density, the specific weight of the water. And we also need the PGA, or in any way an earthquake acceleration for the sliding mass, plus the water saturated failure slab, so some hydraulic information. Well, I'm just going to present an implementation of the infinite slope model, which comes from a previous project of the Black Sea Basin. It's in the area of the northern eastern part of Greece, and is along the vertical axis from Komotini to the cross border of Bulgaria and Greece. So, in order to work with the infinite slope model, what we need first a geology map with all the geological formations. We then need a morphology map, definitely. And after that, a unit weight geological formation map, an intermediate map for wetness classes, and finally the saturation percentage of the sliding mass. So once we have that, we then seek for the engineering properties, meaning cohesion and friction angle, which are based on the geological formations, initially at least, and we use the Morculon-Feller criterion for soil formations and the Hook-Brown criterion for the rock masses. We also need a map with slopes and finally a map with lineaments. And when we say lineaments, we mean incorporation of shear zones and fractures into the geology map, modifying thus accordingly the shear resistance of soils and rock masses, meaning modifying the cohesion and the angle of friction for the geological formations. Now, here we are going to see on the left part, the left image, faults, digitides as they exist in the geological maps, and on the right we can see the geological map enriched by lineaments who have been mapped thanks to remote sensing technologies that have been used. Now, what's the output? The output is this kind of map. What you see here is the road axis. You follow, please, the mouse. Is the road axis, the vertical road axis from Komotini to the cross border of Greece and Bulgaria. The colors are the values of the factor of safety, and this is an image concerning the natural slopes. But we have the luxury and the possibility and the luxury, I would say, to have also factors of safety on the cut slopes along this vertical axis. And this image concerns the cut slopes at 45 degrees, and this one, the differentiation when the cut slopes are of 56 degrees, inclinations that are very usual for cut slopes. And this is the 3D view of the output of the infinite slope model, incorporating both natural slopes and cut slopes along the vertical axis, road axis. The validation, we have tested about 13 or 15, maybe I'm wrong, places along the vertical axis because we knew details about this road axis, and we were very happy to discover that almost all of them were successful, to the exception of this magenta one point. And in order to demonstrate that versus field evidence, I'm showing you two ground failures, not extremely big, but significant for a road. And this one where the cut slope should be reinforced, otherwise it would collapse. So happy enough with the physically based methods, whenever this can be applied, we must not also forget the usefulness of the statistical landslide probability model initiated by Nowicki et al. At 2014, where a landslide probability model has been used by combination of shaking estimates and also by proxies such as topography, surface geology, climate parameters. And this model have been improved by Jesse et al. 4 years later. This is the equation. In fact, has no physical base behind that, but statistically is correct because it gives a successful, let's say, result. What we do, we calculate parameter T based on PGV, ground velocity, on slopes, lithology, land cover, CTI, which is a parameter of, let's say, hydraulic parameter, and again PGV and slope. And then once we have calculated this parameter T, then we have the predicted probability of a landslide occurrence, and this is the end result of this kind of method. So what we get a probability, and this is an example of illustration. It comes from Indonesia, from an earthquake in 2021. If we have maps with peak ground velocity, CTI, which is soil wetness, lithology, land cover, and slope, then we can have this kind of map, which is the probability of earthquake-induced landslides, and a step beyond, also the estimated surface subjected to landslide hazard. Now, we leave landslides, we move to the last part of the presentation, which is the liquefaction. What is liquefaction? Well, I guess most of you have heard of that and you know it, but I will just allow me to say 2 words on that, just in case that somebody doesn't really know. Liquefaction is a process which loose non-coherent sediments such as sands, silty sands, and they lie below the water table. They are not in a dense state, and whenever there is a strong seismic event with a lot of cycles, then they might lose their shear strength and behave as a viscous liquid. Well, how it occurs? Before earthquake, everything seems to be fine. During earthquake, what happens is that in this kind of non-cohesive, loose sediments, the water pressure increases, the friction of angles is gradually lost, and finally the waters fill the spaces and moves up. And what we get, well, it's a bit exaggerated and catastrophic, but we get images like that, and I would say, not to give just false ideas, these are some pictures from different cases of effects of liquefaction. There is not only one effect. There might be sand craters, sand boils, volcanoes, ground oscillation, lateral spreading, ground settlements. Liquefaction appears in different ways. We will work with the method, the statistical method of Chu et al., initiated in 2017, differentiating coastal regions and non-coastal regions by the criteria of the distance from the coast, and in fact we will obtain the probability of liquefaction and the spatial extent of liquefaction. To get an idea, once peak ground velocity site effects through the proxy of ES30, the yearly rainfall, the distance from the seashore, from the rivers, from the depth of the water table, once all this data is given in maps, then we can obtain the probability of liquefaction occurrence and, of course, the estimated surface subjected to liquefaction. Finally, there is a small step beyond that we will try to move. We have noticed, based mainly on the last Hellenic strong earthquakes of Thessalia 2021, that in areas where the TWI, which is the topographic wetness index, a combination of flow accumulation per counter unit length, we noticed that whenever these values are high, meaning big catchments and mild slopes, then there is a place where liquefaction preferably could occur. Thank you. And mulțumesc.
Thank you, Nikos. If there are any questions, please go ahead. Everybody's hungry, yes? Okay.
Before start lunch, I invite all team of our meeting in front of Institute to collect.
I guess everybody's out in the sun. Warming up. No power.
I think you downstairs.
Okay. Let's... Αλέκου, μπορεί να κάνεις ένα κόμπο να φωνάξεις τον άλλο να ξεκινήσουμε, γιατί αυτός είναι... Okay, so we got Κυριακής presentation, Νίκος μετά, έτσι. And then Dragos.
Yeah.
And Gladly, sorry. And Vladlen, okay. You will talk after Vladlen, and then so it's Kyriaki, you, Vladlen, Dragos. Okay, perfect.
Your order was
So this was we did it before you came. Two, 1 plus 1 for 3. 2 in one place.
we lost
Everything.
Wow. You said about the educational hub?
Yes, I did.
We lost that.
You did.
Unforgettable. Unforgivable.
This is controlling.
Unforgivable.
Others, you are moderating. Thank you.
Moderating. Both are nominated unanimously.
After lunch, I think you feel better.
Yes, everybody smiling.
Smiling and
Yes.
I think it would be a good idea to introduce ourselves here because
Yes, I don't okay.
sorry for the delay.
No, you are right, please. Okay, I tried to do it earlier. Okay, everybody, let's. There are some people I don't know. Okay. You know Director Ligonikare, Director of IGS. Nikos Odoudis, you know him. He's from the Institute of Geologie, Seismologie.
one more time.
Analyst
Nice to meet you.
from the same institute, and Nikos Klimis from
University.
is there anyone? Dragos is there. Dragos. You know Dragos. Here. Dragos, everybody knows Dragos. This is Vitaly. Nikos the Ogre guy is great.
Yes, we met.
And I wanted to music. Okay, we are ready to start. Manuel is going.
Yes.
No, nobody knows.
Bastante nada.
So, you moderate from there. Let me explain that it's Kyriaki. Nikos
Program we don't have 5 break parties, but it's good idea to have dinner together. If you support it, please, I will give you one plate, but please not, I must know how much people will be there.
Is there anyone who will not come?
Yes, saying that.
I guess that almost all of us will be there, right?
But tonight,
Now we just now we execute near the building.
That's a nice approach. Okay.
Who wants to participate in the collective dinner?
we're talking about tonight or tomorrow?
In this evening.
This evening.
This evening.
Today. Okay. Okay, so now we move on to the second part of today's meeting. I think the next presentations will be from Kyriaki, from Itzhak, and it will be made online. So, since she's not present here, please your attention to the screen. Kyriaki, can you hear us? You can, but okay, now we can hear you as well. Vladimir, please turn on the sound as much as you can. Kyriaki, you can share your screen and start the presentation. Can you find the share screen function?
Yes, just a moment, I need to allow it from my system settings.
Να ρίξουμε τη φωνή λοιπόν. Please speak up. Κυριακή, please. Don't speak up.
I'm not sure if we
Can somebody turn on the voice?
Do we also have some kind of speakers or?
No, from where we can try from here. It's maximum from
Okay,
the
you see my presentation now?
Yes, just a little bit to see if we can have you louder.
I have one solution.
Okay, perhaps it's an opportunity for all of us to be silent and listen here.
I will try to talk louder.
Yes, please do that.
Okay. So, my presentation
Just a
is
moment,
limited.
it's not a full screen. Do you think we should do something on our side to make it full screen?
I can see it in full screen.
Okay, wait for Vladimir, can you check if we can have a full screen image of the presentation? Also the voice.
You have a full screen option here.
Just a moment, yes. Now,
Mode.
now I believe you see it full screen.
Wait, Kyriaki, there is an amplifier of voice now.
I'm not sure how we can see it full screen though.
The screen? There. Yes. Ah.
Okay, that's better, yes.
Turn on the speakers connected as well. I think we can start immediately.
Yes, you see the presentation full screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, you listen to, and you can hear me clear? More or less, okay. So, in fact, this is a very small presentation in order to trigger discussion regarding some last issues that have to do with how we share data in the REDACt platform.
перевести из режима компьютера в бокс.
As we know, in Champion and also our are going to provide REDACt with real-time data from our seismological networks so that we produce in real time all these products we have promised. The main products we are going to provide to the platform are the two input files. One is with the information about the earthquake, like the epicenter, the magnitude, the date time. And the second is a file with the real-time data recording by our seismological network, including PGA and PGB values. These are in fact two XML files, as we have promised, in the format we have discussed and agreed. And it is based on the USGS ECMAP XML input files. We have all seen the presentation that Yasin has sent us, where he explains how we are going to change data. And what he proposes is to use a cloud data transfer. By this, he means that we are going to have a shared cloud folder hosted by a specific cloud provider like Google or Microsoft or Dropbox. And new earthquake data is going to be copied to this folder and then replicated to the rest of the REDA systems. So the process is, as soon as we have an earthquake, we produce the input XML files. We put these XML files in a special folder in our local REDAS instance. This folder is called the transfer bin. And then the REDAS system takes care of the rest of the process. Data from transfer bin is copied to the cloud folder, and then it is automatically replicated to the rest of the REDAS instances. This replication is handled by the cloud provider we will choose. In our view, this is something we need to discuss and clarify. First of all, is this cloud transfer mechanism a suitable mechanism to exchange our input data? Can we find a free plan that will be suitable for our needs and according to the volume of the data we are going to share, or we should go for a paid cloud subscription? And in the later case, this will be sustainable. Can all partners guarantee that they will maintain this subscription as long as the REDAS instances are up and running? So these are some questions that we need to discuss together and with Yasin, and agree if we indeed want to go to this solution, which cloud provider we are going to choose, and what will be the plan. Will it be a free plan or a paid plan? And what paid plan? According to our expected volume of data. So this is it. It was a really small presentation. Just to trigger the discussion on these issues that we need to discuss and finalize.
Thank you, Kyriaki. I believe that we should keep those questions for tomorrow's discussion. All the partners were also, Yasin will be here, hopefully. And have them in mind in order to see how we will proceed with this matter. So I think that we can continue with Nikos Dominidis' presentation. Kyriaki, thank you very much.
Okay.
Perhaps we can disconnect the speakers now, rather than.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the IGS, Igor and Vladlen, and all the colleagues that invited us here in this natural environment place around. No electricity, and that's good. It means it's really natural environment. And after the presentations of Basil and Kyriaki, and Basil's was really a research-oriented presentation, theory and application in the core of the project, harmonization of GMPs and hazard for the project. So I will focus on the measurements, because theory and science without measurements is half of the project. Our project is based on measurements, and the measurements in our case are accelerometers in nationwide scale as well as in pilot sites. Without measurements, unfortunately, we cannot improve our knowledge and our results, and outputs and results. So let me tell you, we have the nationwide networks in Romania, in Turkey, in Greece, but what happens in the urban environments? Because what we do care is not only the nationwide scale, but is some metropolitan areas like Kocaeli, that Chan presented in the morning, like Thessaloniki, I will present it here, like Bucharest, etc. So we need to instrument these sites in order to achieve the best results for the project. That was the basic idea. And this is a milestone of the project. Among the 3-4 milestones, this is the one. And I will focus on this and tell you, try to show you in 10-15 minutes what we are planning to do in Greece for Thessaloniki pilot site, plus Ceres, the other city in central Macedonia. And first that I must tell you is that 10 years ago we started in the Institute, in collaboration with the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, the reconstruction of a first generation, say low cost, in fact is in-house accelerometer that was a very simple one. You see the technical specifications, small one, about 10 by 10 centimeters, that used just MEMS, but MEMS of 14 bits, quite low resolution, but it was the first step. And we tested it. This is the electronic circuit and the the plan of this low-cost accelerometer we deployed in the institute, and we deployed in a high seismicity area of Greece in Lefkas, 25 of them. The aim of this effort was to have shake maps based on real data, not in GMPs, because you know all that GMPs include high uncertainties due to the local site effects, due to the source effects, due to the path effects. Anyway, this is the solution, but what we do in cases like this example in Lefkas, which is a city of, say, 2 by 3 kilometers. You can imagine if you have a big city like Thessaloniki, 10 by 10 kilometers, or even in Istanbul, 50 by 50 kilometers. Then you need a dense array, a dense low-cost array, otherwise you cannot pay. It's not affordable. So we deployed it here because it was high seismicity, and we got interesting results. First, the instruments were very robust. They survived in the free field conditions. Just they were supplied by electricity of the municipality of Lefkas, free field in the road, in fact in some kits of the Power Corporation of Greece, and then we wait for the earthquakes. Just to show you an example, these are two maps. In fact, it's a small earthquake of magnitude 4 close to Lefkas after we deployed this network, and you can see that in two directions, north-south and east-west, how different are the maps, the shaking maps. This information cannot be provided by the GMPs. Why? Because this is based on real, dense mesh data. And you see that both maps are not the same. If the earthquake comes from another direction, this earthquake were west of Lefkas. If it comes from north of Lefkas, this picture will completely change because of 2D effects of the city. All the cities are located on basins. So the site effects are very important in this case. So then we said that that's very interesting, so we have to improve this instrument. And the cost of this instrument was, at that time, 100 euros, $100. So it's not a big deal, in fact. And we paid for one Gural at that time, 7,000 euros. One Gural, 7,000. One of these, so we deployed 20 of these, which means 2,000 euros covering the whole city. It was quite encouraging, also based on the results. Also, what we did, this is a Gural in Lefkas. We have a Gural in downtown, and we installed close by this Seismobag is called this accelerometer, and we got exactly the same results in Fourier amplitude and in response spectra for the frequency range of interest, of engineering interest, 0.1 to 20 Hertz. So it was proved to be a useful tool. However, this was not internet-based accelerometer, because for our project what we need is almost real-time damage assessment. So we need real-time, as Kyriakis said, real-time data in XML format or whatever to the center that, to the server that will estimate the shake maps. So in this case we had to improve it, and to improve it in the project, in the REDACt project, we needed for that new laboratory devices. This is the set that we bought, and this set will stay forever in the institute, and this set costs about 7,000 to 8,000 euros, this set. For example, this is an oven, and this is in fact the machine that assembles the different parts, electronic parts, in one circuit, the MEM, and some other accessories needed to assemble the accelerometer. So just tell you to have an idea of the cost. And then this is the new version of the Seismobag version 2 with the main specifications. This is the kit, this is the circuit, okay? Always we have a triaxial sensor in 3 directions. We measure the motion as all the normal, the market accelerometers, but 20-bit resolution, which is very high, with 0.1 milli-G root mean square noise, very low noise, comparable to the broadband accelerometer's noise. Wireless data transmission, that was the difficult part to test, because when you have a chip assembly of electronic parts, it's difficult to collaborate with the routers, Wi-Fi routers that will transmit the data to the calculation to the servers. It works also with the SDA LTA triggering, but it also works on continuous data streaming to a server. of course, for safety reasons, it has local storage prevent if something happens in the internet due to the earthquake, then one can go in a second phase and collect the data. That's for safety. This does not serve the project itself, but we need it. Okay, battery backup and software ad hoc in order to handle the whole situation. And this is the final product, and the cost of this product, including the man hours and the material, the laboratory material, was about 300 euros. In fact, 3 times more than the Seismobac one, but now it is still cheap. So, then if we have them now we have them, and we are in the phase of assembling. We have all the electronic parts, and I said to Kostas, we, in fact, to assemble this and generate this Seismobac version 2, we needed about 80 small parts. These 80 small parts, due to COVID conditions in the last 2 years, it was not possible to find them available in the commerce. We missed 3 of them, and we spent 1 year, and that's why we asked the extension. We missed, and we asked 1 year, and now, the last week, we got all these 3 final E-parts, and we have them to assembly. So we are now assembling, and within this year, hopefully, we are going to install these instruments in the pilot site. And which is the pilot site now? Let's go to the pilot site. What we did, in our case, Thessaloniki is one pilot site, and we promised in the project about 30 instruments to be deployed in a mesh specially designed based on a Delaunay triangulation method, so that to have almost, as much as possible, equal distance between each instrument. That helps the shake map accuracy in the future. So we had to combine the position of schools, and why we selected schools? Because schools are spread almost uniformly in the metropolitan areas, not hospitals, but schools. Every neighbor has a school. So we could satisfy this condition with the Delaunay triangulation method in many big cities, I hope. And so station from station is about 500 meters now. You can imagine now in Thessaloniki we have stations, 5 Guralp stations in all the city, and 30 of these instruments that will densen the whole array and increase the accuracy. So the other condition, this is the city of Thessaloniki, so the its length from here to here is about 10 kilometers by 4 kilometers width. So the other condition that we should respect was the geology, the VS30 values, or say the amplification, the possible amplification in the future earthquake. And Thessaloniki here is divided in 3 categories: with soft soil, stiff soil, and hard soil. In fact, the hills of Thessaloniki. And you see the circles are the schools that we have chosen, we have selected. So we respected geology, we respected the distance between these stations, and what will happen now, in every school we have one Seismobac version 2 that will be connected to the router of the school. We tested it in all schools, it works perfectly, the signal is strong, and then the router will send the data to the institute server, which will manipulate the data to incorporate them into the shake map, but zooming in the site of Thessaloniki, as we will discuss with Yasin. We have already discussed. And so we have the routers, we have the internet, and then here you see it's the exact headquarters server that will do the job. In this case, we will have in several minutes, less than 3 minutes, and this has been tested, we will have a shake map, a detailed map in the city. We will know with an accuracy of plus minus 100 meters per block what is the ground motion with high accuracy. So, just to show you, this is a shortcoming of our approach, but we cannot do anything. We had to choose some schools, and we have 2, for example, out of 31 schools, these are 2 extreme cases. One light building and one really heavy building of 7 stories. This is, fortunately, this is the exception, 2 or 3 cases. Most of the cases is like this. Reinforced concrete buildings built after the 1985 when the new code put in force in Greece, and they are of 2 or 3 stories, which is not light but not heavy buildings. We can say that the ground motion will not be substantially affected, at least in intermediate and low frequencies. Maybe in high frequencies, but it's not that important. So, and some old buildings like this one, before the codes, masonry buildings, and some prefabricated like this one. These are more or less light buildings. So I would say that 80% of the buildings are of light to medium buildings and 10% quite heavy buildings, the installation that will affect the motion. So the other site in Greece is Ceres. So Ceres is a quite small in size city. It's about 3 by 4 kilometers, something like that. So what we did there is first ambient noise in another project in the past, ambient noise measurements to define first level microzonation of the building. And as you can see, the city can be divided in more or less 3 zones of low frequency, potential of shaking, of intermediate frequency and high frequency. Here is the mountains to the north, and here is the valley. Then these 3 categories, we promised in the project 5 school buildings. So we had to disseminate this, to put these 5 buildings in 3 categories, and we decided to do it, say, in one in the rock side, in the hard side, 2 in the intermediate, and another 2 in the soft side, in the south of the building. So hopefully in the beginning of the year, we expect, not in Ceres, I hope not in Thessaloniki as well, but we expect a small event to test the whole effort. But as you understand, the cost of the whole effort is not that big. So we will see in the next years the results of these 2 sites and how they improved the shaking map and rapid damage assessment in these 2 sites. And I close my presentation saying that in the case of Thessaloniki, let's go here. Okay. And I close with that. Okay. In the case of Thessaloniki, what we have this area. This is the center of Thessaloniki, downtown. This is the historical part of Thessaloniki. And in this point, we had in the earthquake of 1978, an earthquake of magnitude 6.5, that is the design earthquake, more or less, for the city. And we had the unique accelerometer, the unique input motion, real input motion. We also have damage, measured damage, loss assessment plus vulnerability of all these buildings, fragility curves. So we can run the scenario of the same earthquake. We have the data and we have to validate whether the REDAS system that will be developed by the project is reliable or it may need some corrections. So Thessaloniki will serve additionally in this validation of the REDAS system. So I think that that's all I would like to tell you, and this, in fact, if this will be instrumented the city, it's a good milestone for the whole project and an example for the rest of the pilot sites like Chișinău or Bucharest already they have, or Kocaeli or whatever. So that's all, Manueli, and
you want to answer some questions, probably?
Yes, if there are questions, but in fact, I would like to trigger discussion for today, for tomorrow, sorry, when Yasin will be here, because it's very important to incorporate all these things into the REDA system and to be sure that this will work. Otherwise, we install for nothing. If this data will not go to the system, to the headquarters or to the servers of the whole institutes, then...
So I think all of us has some slides in the presentations that need to be addressed tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, tomorrow with Yasin as well,
yeah,
and see how they are
sure.
incorporated in the system.
Yeah.
Now we start the discussion. Maybe I don't know if Jan has to do that.
Jan.
Because I was going to ask for the. You have 5 grad stations at the moment in Thessaloniki, and
Yeah.
31 the Seismologie you are going to install, and you are going to integrate those stations, I guess.
Sure. Sorry, the idea was, you remember the discussion with Yasin? We had this 5. These 5 cannot serve in details for Thessaloniki, but they will serve the shake maps for the whole area.
Okay, but for the moment, I guess you are using 5 graph station with the GMPs together, right?
Yeah.
Then, but you are saying you will not use GMPs if you install the...
No, sorry. I said that we will still use, we cannot stay without GMPs in the project, but we will improve the bias of the hazard in an earthquake, in a scenario. We will use the 31 stations to correct the local attenuation, because the attenuation is very local there, due to local effect. Yeah, sure.
That's another question. The instruments you are planning to install at the basement level, I guess.
Exactly. That's why I was worrying about the soil structure interaction effects, and I showed you that our buildings are more or less 2 to 3 stories. This may include an interaction, but mainly in the high frequency part of the motion. This is something that it's another problem we have to address, another question, another project, but that's the possibility we have. We cannot install an instrument outside of the building, and we don't have electricity, no internet, nothing. So the logistics really do not give the permission to go to the free field. So that's the...
We also plan to do the same, but we haven't decided which schools yet. But for our case, we have 41 grad stations now in Kocaeli.
Oh, nice.
And well, in Amendum, I plan to add 8 more this new generation, next generation stations. We can. So we plan also follow your route, do the same if we can. Okay.
Yes,
You were saying?
Nico, thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. You showed us that you have collocated instruments, the Seismologie version 2 and also Gural. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
This
Did
is
you
in
make,
the card.
did you have any records from
Yeah.
both? And
yes.
Did you make any spectral analysis for both? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately, I don't have, because I plan to 10 minutes to show you, but maybe I can prepare it for tomorrow to show you how identical are in Fourier spectra the two recordings.
What is the frequency response of Seismologie 2?
You mean the highest?
Yes, the highest.
50 hertz.
50 hertz.
It's it's interesting because what is interesting is that the 24 bits instrument like Gural provides similar results with a 20 bits instrument.
Yes. The most important thing with this kind of new generation MEMS instruments, in some latest publications, they have, let's say, theoretical part in the low frequency and the high frequencies, those instruments, instead of the 24-bit instruments. So for this kind of source structure interaction effects, or maybe in any other studies, could be a little bit cautious with those instruments. For shake maps, of course, it's fully acceptable.
Yeah, you are right. We go step by step. You see first generation. Second generation will test and try to validate such a kind of issues. And if we want to improve it, we can do it in the next step.
Okay.
Now you gave me the opportunity we discuss with Kostas and the other colleagues, because they are so cheap. Unfortunately, in the framework of the project, we couldn't find a solution to share with all the colleagues these instruments. And we had, in fact, of course, we don't want to be benefited by this action, just to share, to donate the instruments. But I remember in Turkey, it was difficult to export, even free of charge.
Yes, even
really,
free of charge, it's difficult because we had a problem with GFZ.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe within the European Union, we can, with Romania, we can exchange easier and say that it's an issue that we have to think about. If it works, it's.
How you synchronize data concerning the time between the new generation and GPS station?
Okay, they use a UTP NTP server. We use for the time GPS. We use the NTP server that comes from the internet in the router. So we use this time and we check that this time is correct when it arrives in the institute with a collocated Gural GPS.
Yeah.
So it was also tested. Maybe, I don't know in which kind of accuracy, less than millisecond. I don't know if Kyriaki is with us, he remembers better than me this test, but it was less than millisecond accuracy.
And you have a look for the largest earthquake magnitude, not for the small magnitude aspect, like 3 magnitude or 2 or 3?
In fact, you mean the level? Which is the level? The threshold level is...
Because at the low level, it is this type of sensor, it is a noise thing.
The accuracy of the new one is 0.1 millig root mean square noise, which means it is not far from Gural. Of course, Gural is better, but this is also good, millig, plus minus 1 millig.
Okay.
And yeah, we will see. Also, we will test it in the noise level, because we have to check this 20-bit in the noise level with the noise level of CMG 60 velocities. And if it works, maybe we will check what Basil said, what happens inside, outside of building and the soil structure interaction effects. They are promising, but we have to test them. But for shake maps, surely they will work, because I showed you the example of LEFCAS, the old generation Seismobac version 1, it worked perfect compared to the GURALP system. We will see.
What is the ad hoc software?
The ad hoc software, in fact, is the guy that Vasilis.
Is it link or
No, when I say the ad hoc software, is the software that Basil Papanikolaou, the guy that designed and constructed this, prepared this instrument, he worked in a software first to get the data by TCP/IP protocol, and then to treat them using some free subroutines on data processing, and that means ad hoc software. There are two parts. One is to transfer the data from the router, and the other is to process the data, so that to provide the metadata, the data which is response spectra or corrected values, etc. Okay.
I think, Nico, I think as far as I remember, Vasilis Papanikolaou used a variety of different formats from the digital data. So after that, we can use any free software in order to processing in the next stages of the processing. Sorry.
Yeah. Just a moment, Kyriaki. Yeah. You will take the floor. One moment. You are right. Basil creates, Vasilis Papanikolaou creates an open ASCII format data, so you can use whatever software you want. But his ad hoc software really provides the correct format that we need for the processing of the data. Yes, Kyriaki, please. You can. Yes, please. Yeah.
And on our part, at Asachi, we have developed a plugin for Seismologie that connects to the instruments and gets real-time data that are fed in the Seismologie software, and they are stored in our file system as raw PDC data, exactly like the other instruments of the network.
Okay.
In fact, this is the standard that is now used by all instrument companies to send data and receive it, and that's what we are doing here.
Okay.
Directly to Seismologie in this format.
Thank you, Kyriaki. This replies to the question of Constantini Ionescu that Seiscom 3. Okay, Seiscom 3 protocol TCP/IP sends the data in our Seiscom P3 server, and then this is converted to mini-SID. Practically, it's mini-SID format. Okay, and the shake maps. Okay, everything is free software, in fact, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that the software does not cost. Okay, ευχαριστούμε Kyriaki, thank you. Manoli, I think I'm done.
We'll keep my question for tomorrow.
Yes, please, yeah, it's better.
So if I can see it correctly in the agenda, after After Nikos Todoulides' presentation, we'll have lunch break. No, I'm kidding. Yes. Already. Okay, we can now proceed with Vladlen, our host here. Vladlen, I think it's your presentation next.
So, in our institute, we had a project which are very similar with the topic of REDACT, and namely this part of with operational assessment of the intensity and consequences of earthquakes. In our case, it's branch earthquakes for the territory of Republic of Moldova. Branch is the main source of the danger for territory of Republic of Moldova, and we used ROMPLAS catalog for this research, and earthquakes with magnitude 4 and more for period 50 years from 1970 till 2020. Here we have two recurrence plots, classical by Gutenberg Richter and modified by Huang for larger magnitude. And as we know from for Eurocode 8, we need to use period 475 years and guaranteed no more probability of exceeding not more than 10%. Here, after calculating, we can see that more close to these parameters is magnitude 7.9 with period 404 years. And probability 12%, not probability of not exceeding it 12% for within 50 years. Previously, in our study, we determined two zones in branch or general branch zones. We have two zones with lower part and upper part. It's the lower part is more to the southwest of this zone branch, and the upper zone for to the northeast. And when we see all this branch zone here, you see that axis is has the azimuth 53 degrees. So from the southwest to the east northeast, and after the researching studying, we determined that there
we have the strongest earthquakes in both of these zones, and some of them, like 1986 or 1940, are situated in a lower zone, and the rupture is from the southwest part to the northeast part, so to the Chișinău. And on the contrary, the earthquakes like 1977, we have in the northeast zone, the upper zone, but the rupture is to the southwest, so to the Bucharest, and we could see that damages, for example, in 1977 were more in Bucharest, but in Chișinău we don't have a lot of damages. And on the contrary, we felt more the earthquake 1986 more in Chișinău than in Bucharest. So according to these zones, we have two scenarios. Scenario when the source of the earthquake is located in lower part of the zone, and scenario when the source of the earthquake is located in upper part of the zone, branch zone. And with magnitude 7.8, it was made one application program in Excel package, and I can demonstrate later it. And we can see here that for Republic of Moldova, for those earthquakes, those events that happened in lower part, we have only two zones, intensity zones, 6 and lower part we have 3 zones, 6, 7, and 8. And for those events that occurred in upper part, we have only 2 zones. So we even don't have here on the territory of Moldova intensity 8 for such events, because all energy is directed to the southwest from the branch source, to Bucharest mostly. And as we need to have all these terms in for your code in acceleration, so using this formula, we transform intensity to acceleration, and we have here merged 2 maps just to compare how they are correlated. And we can see here that quite good correlation with Romanian maps and what we have from calculated acceleration here. And here is the program which was made by Evgeny Isichko. He is a part of our team. And I can, same maps, I can maybe show here. Not only we have not only maps, but also a lot of different numbers. For example, we have here region, total number of houses,
or inhabitants, and also damaged houses, injured people, and fatal, and also some other numbers. And here different districts of the Republic of Moldova. We can see here where we could have more problems in which region. Here on the map was the same. So here three levels of damages, and one scenario for more danger for Moldova, and other for more danger for south part of Romania, and for Moldova not so danger. And here the same strict number of damaged houses that were calculated, and it's scenario what we have if happens earthquake with magnitude 7.9, for example, or other magnitude, because I can demonstrate now. Here. This program. Here, calculate, and have results. Takes a little bit.
What is the grid mesh to calculate the values? The mass, the size of the mass in Moldova. It's how many kilometers by kilometers?
All this Moldova territory.
Yes,
also. Oh, it's 1 to 4 degrees. It's like 40 kilometers, 450 kilometers from south to north. So this
yeah.
Yes, here we have. So we have two maps with intensity, what could happen, and with acceleration. If you have event with magnitude 7.9, and here risk. So all the same what you could see before. So we have territories, percentage of territory with intensity, number of damaged houses in different districts, and injured people, and so on. So something like this. It's very similar to REDACt topic, I think.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Questions?
Have you finished? Do you want some questions, or you have something more?
No, I have finished.
Yes. I think first one, someone. I'm not sure if it was Dragos or Vasilis.
No. We're not going to fight. I'm going to be the first. My question is, so those estimates are computed based on intensity values or PGA? Maybe I did not get this right.
PGA was transformed from intensity by formula. So
first intensity, and then you convert it to acceleration. But those estimates, such as damaged buildings and affected people, are based on
It was based on some researchers, different type of buildings, and how it was, how to say, was damage, real damage during earthquakes 1940, 1986, and then extrapolated for quarters or separate villages, depending on how large is the territory. And we just calculated how many buildings of this type we have and other types, and so we know how they could be damaged, caused by such magnitude, such intensity, because we already had it, and also some probability that exceeded a little bit this level. So, and we have statistics, previous earthquakes.
Okay, yes, I recall some publications.
Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation, especially for the intensity and the intermediate depth earthquakes. As far as I understood, you mentioned about the earthquakes in Romania.
Branch zone, namely branch zone. Yes.
Do you showed us two different prediction models for intensity? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. How did you take into account the depth for that specific earthquakes in these simulations? Did you use epicentral distances or epicentral and a kind of depth?
No, we also took in consideration also depth, because the zone is not because this distance to the hypocenter, it's quite quite has how to say very big distance from the from between 70 till 180, so it's quite important because the distance between epicenter and some locality is maybe less than the depth. Yes, because we take into account depth of this. Yes, so hypocenter.
Yeah, sure. Just a short comment on the discussion that basically had with Badlet. From my point of view, I think for such kind of events, it is better to use the distance from the center of energy release, because the center of energy release on the intraplate earthquakes is that generates the radiation of the energy, and then this distance can be related with the ground motion intensity. So that's my comment. So my question is that relates with the REDACt project is one of your transparency that correlates the cross-border area. Can you show this interesting transparency? Because this is the essence of the project, harmonization of the final output between two countries. This one, okay. So this is really very interesting how similar results you get, and I didn't realize if you used the same GMPs or these two maps of the two countries come from different element data.
A little bit different because they have check stick number.
Interesting result. Harmonization.
Give us a moment.
I think from the seismic design code in 2013, rather.
Yes, in Romania you have P100, this code. Yes, 101. And you have period a little bit different period, maybe 200 or how many years?
20% in 50 years.
Yes, but we have more closer to the Eurocode, maybe. But anyway, it's quite correlated. Yes.
Sorry, this is not a deterministic scenario. This is a probabilistic scenario.
This probabilistic.
And it was independently calculated.
It was founded on deterministic because we used equation, attenuation equation.
Yeah.
Yes, but then we used it's probabilistic system because Eurocode is founded on probabilistic.
Sure, but first you run for Romania and you got the first map, and then you run for Moldova and you get another one, and then you tailor them, and they fit perfectly well with a small shift anyway. But that's really very interesting. So you are completely harmonized with Romania. That's the message of
Because they use the same data.
Yes, it's the same data, but period is not the same. A little bit different. Yes.
Nature don't respect administrative board,
Yeah.
especially between Romania and Republic of Moldova. It's a lot of jokes, not only scientific issue about it, but also in border between Greece and Turkey. But in your country you have different small seismic zone and different type of seismic zone. For our territory it's one big source, it's branch
Common source we have.
and branch make us to think together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we can now move on to the next and probably final presentation today. We have one more. Okay, so from Dragos Komandanila regarding the smartphone app.
Yes, plus a bonus. Because Vladlen also presented before me, and also Basil presented some of the works for Greece and Turkey. First of all, I will start with something a bit more related to what Vladlen also showed, if things work. Just taking somehow advantage of the moment, also to show especially the colleagues from Republic of Moldova some of our recent work, which clearly can be of great use also for your area, as you also showed.
In the same boat.
I mean, different approaches, but still the results are useful for both of us, but also for the REDACT project. So what I wanted to show you, I don't have the presentation. It was done 1 month ago at the European Conference for Earthquake Engineering. I also represented you guys and presented also the work for Greece and Turkey related to testing GMPAs. But we also tested GMPAs, so ground motion prediction equations, for Vrancea earthquake, subparastal, and also for other shallow sources in Romania, because not all earthquakes are in Vrancea. Most of the big ones are there, but also we have other problematic areas. And what resulted, and you can also find online, just as a, let's say, notification, if this opens, I will also start showing. I'm showing all my screen? No.
Just my presentation.
And I will be presenting my whole screen because I'm also using the browser. So the proceedings of this conference, if they open, they have like 1 gigabyte of data. Should show also the results for the Romanian site. If it doesn't work, no problem, we can manage. Basically what we've did here, so it's not opening, we've also tested various ground motion prediction equations, also some of the recent ones. Let's focus now on branch earthquakes. We had 5 different models, but all of them provided information in terms of PGA and spectral acceleration, so not intensity.
From the beginning? From
the beginning, because we wanted them to be useful also directly from engineering point of purposes, and because as the 1977 experience showed us, intensity might not be the most suitable, let's say, engineering parameters, because it can be subjected to differences from building typology to building typology from different classes. So we've tested 5 GMPs, such as Sokol of 2008, Văcăreanu 2015, which will be considered also in the next version of the Romanian seismic design code. The previous one, which you also showed on the map, was from 2013, but they used older GMPs. But now we tested more recent ones, and basically what we are going to implement also in REDACt is the result of testing these equations, and we came up with a weighting scheme selecting 3 of them, the most representative. They're also sent to Yasin for implementation, but also, if the presentation doesn't work, okay, you can see on the recent European seismic hazard model, which was published. You might have seen it already, but just putting it on here. That in the FAIR initiative and SERA, you can see this map, which now also covers Republic of Moldova, and it's, let's say, harmonized. It should be enough to see it like this. This is also a result of logic tree approach, using also more or less the same equations which we tested also for REDACt, and this is the resulted map in PGA, which can be, let's say, useful for a next comparison of what you presented earlier. And yes, it's, let's say, the result here. I can provide you all the details if needed, what we used for it, how we compile the data, and it's also the same going to be for REDACt. Okay, this is just what I wanted to mention. And now I will jump into the REDACt smartphone application. Any of you have it installed already?
On Android.
On Android?
Not on iOS yet.
Not on iOS. iOS is, let's say, for people with a lot of money. It's ongoing. I don't know why, but as I mentioned earlier, for delivering an application to iOS, there are more necessary steps. You need to provide somehow a better validation of the work that's being done there. So currently it's available on Android for testing. What is, first of all, the idea of this app, what it should do, and then I will show you what it does until now. So the project, REDACt, will have also, as mentioned in the manual, a smartphone application devoted to, first of all, disseminate that data from the project, such as the list of earthquakes detected and some of the products. And also it's dedicated to project visibility, education, so educational hub should be present there, and links to various resources, and should provide also warnings in case of earthquakes. Development started in 2002 February, and should end, let's say, the final version, not version 0.1, but version 1, should be finished in 2022 December. Ovidius University of Constanța, which I'm also representing, which is also a partner in the REDACT project, is the task coordinator, but not having so many application developers, we are relying on another company, which won the auction, let's say, for this service, and it's implementing this. Red Vector is their name. REDACT, Red Vector, I don't know, it's coincidence just. Okay, this application, according also to what is the manual, the request for that company, should be available also for Android and iOS, free to download, has a user manual, and operate in all our 3 languages plus English, first of all. Easy login, respect of GDPR, so privacy and all this stuff. Should contain info regarding recent earthquakes. So basically what we are also trying to come up with in the REDACT platform, a joint list of earthquake events should be also accessed by this application. Notifications regarding earthquakes of interest. So I don't want to be notified about earthquakes of magnitude 3 which are in Greece and I'm here in Chișinău. Have let's say filtering capability for me to select which are the earthquakes of interest. Option to send feedback, the did you feel it approach, USGS has it also, INFP, all of us have it. So also this application should allow the user to send their own experience, let's say, also pictures, useful for estimating intensity. A section related to frequently asked questions also regarding earthquakes and what should be understood about them, and if possible include some quizzes in order to test, let's say, the knowledge of users regarding earthquakes and earthquake preparedness measures, and keep them, for example, constantly checking the application. You might include prizes at some point. Include information regarding safe areas, what also Costas presented very early in the morning, that type of map showing potentially safe areas. Pre-configured I'm safe messages to be sent to a list of favorite contacts. Contacts. Capability to share earthquake and also location capabilities, such as was also shown here. It's also, let's say, it's the request. The discussion came later on. Also a backend interface, very important for us to be able to control the application. If, for example, one earthquake somehow is missed, things don't work, for us to have some manual control. Also on the list of earthquakes, also on the users, for example. Some of them might need to be, let's say, blocked or something like this. And user-friendly list, but not list. So what we currently have, this beta version, these are screenshots taken yesterday because it's still ongoing modifications. The first thing you see when you install the application is the login interface. You can log in through email and password. You can also use some social accounts such as the Google account, but I've checked it yesterday, it didn't seem to work. Nevertheless, you can also, this option works through email, but also, as I've seen, it's not so much related to, as long as you put the around and a lengthy, let's say, password, no matter if it was predefined, you can enter the application. You have these capabilities to select, as I mentioned, for now it's only English, Romanian. After it's going to be more mature, we will make the translations to the other project languages. In the settings sections, once you finish logging in, you have also this capability to select language units, the list of favorite contacts, which you will later use when sending those SMS messages. This is connected also to your phone agenda. You don't need to manually reinsert your list of contacts. And other information about the project, terms of services, and other legal stuff such as GDPR. These buttons, basically, when you hit home, what you will see, you're going to see the list of earthquakes. You have currently 3 categories. All earthquakes, which we are going to provide to the application. Significant earthquakes higher than a certain magnitude. Here you can see that it excluded what is below 5. We can make any adjustments. Also, the user can make his own adjustments based on the filtering. There is this button here. You can filter based on magnitude, less than a value greater than, based on the date of the earthquake, and also the filter if you enable the application to understand where you are. You can then set this filter saying, like, I want the application to show me earthquakes within a 100 kilometers range or 200 kilometers range, and it will work. There is also this option, earthquakes near me. So basically you don't need to filter this, you just hit near me and it will show you the list of earthquakes within, I think, 300 kilometers close nearby you. And for a specific event, such as this one, it was randomly chosen for Greece. If you tap on it, you can see all this information. When it occurred, the location, the depth, distance from me. So I was in Chișinău. Does it sound appropriately? 100 kilometers? Should be. In Greece. Should be. From here to an earthquake in Greece, which was...
how many hundred kilometers?
800.
800.
Seems plausible, no? Okay. Yes, it's okay. Okay. Beside that list, you can also see earthquakes on a map. I, as a geographer, prefer doing so. You can also, when clicking on the map, see basic pop-up windows for a specific event. Also, for earthquakes greater than 3, I think, you can send this feedback with did you feel it? So I felt this earthquake, quick feedback and detailed. What does it mean? Here it's still, I told them, don't put factor, it should be intensity 5. It's going to happen next weeks. These are pictures also taken from EMSC, so this is the quick feedback based solely on images, because studies showed that people are more prone to give feedback in this way, and it's not such a big difference than the very detailed approach, which is going to still be implemented. So the detailed feedback is a more complex selection of boxes. Where were you when you felt the earthquake? How things were perceived, and so on. There is also the section related to quizzes. We are just testing it, and we should also, my proposal is first of all to implement what I've what I've also sent for the educational hub. So how well are you prepared to an earthquake? Do you have an emergency backpack, yes or no? And 10 simple questions for the users, and then they will send some feedback to us, and we could also understand who we are dealing with and make our own research. We also have this button here showing safe areas. It can, this is just testing, we will include what's at least for Greece, and if we have this data available for other areas, no problem. in this interface, you can also share the live location using WhatsApp, for example. So yeah, this is basically what we have as a current state. More could be done, we are aware, and we will certainly give also our feedback, but it's important that we have this meeting because let me know your thoughts regarding what should we do to improve this product. Our thoughts are for the moment that clearly updates need to be made according to what was presented in the first slides. It should be available in App Store and for iOS. Improved login because it's a bit cumbersome now and it doesn't store your user account. Connection with REDACt platform, we're going to discuss tomorrow how we, so for testing purposes we are using the list of earthquakes from the National Institute for Earth Physics. We should use the REDACt harmonized, let's say, list with all our networks providing the best solution. And then, if we are confident, we should promote it because otherwise, why make it? That's me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? Do you plan to use the video field data in order to provide some kind of intensity map or integrate those responses which are not expected to be too many in the first stages of the app with the ones from MSC application or something like this? Or we're just doing it so that we have now the possibility to collect answers and we will see how we will
First of all, create the possibility. I mean, it would be nice for the user to also see a reflection of what he contributed to a product, as in AMSC. For the moment, we will collect this data and let's talk about whether or not to include something. This somehow opens a dangerous gate in the sense that I'm going to play and put maximum intensity and seeing that for a magnitude 3 earthquake, the predicted intensity where I show it in the application is 12.
Okay, I think
it's not going to
I think this is the correct approach to be somehow careful of how
we can always, yes, decide to do so, but maybe put some thresholds and filtering regardless of what we get, somehow to eliminate erroneous, obviously erroneous answers. And then
Drago, thank you very much. Could you give us a little bit the transparency with the discrimination of the magnitudes? Because I didn't catch something. Yes, in this one. You mentioned in the first column 5.3 magnitude. Okay. No, in the first column. Also in the second column. Why you use the same magnitude in both columns, in small earthquakes and the strong earthquakes?
So here are all earthquakes in my list. You can see also very small earthquakes with 2.8, yes, something like this. Insignificant, they are higher than 5.
I see.
And the filtering allows you to be much more precise in your search.
And is there any specific philosophy for the space between one magnitude level to the next magnitude level, or you choose these arbitrarily?
This is somehow inspired from EMSC. How
IMC.
they have exactly the same categories. They somehow consider to be of interest.
That's nice. Thank you.
I come back to your initial question and reply, Dragos, which is very important for the project. And I don't know the level of collaboration between Yasin and the smartphone app. What I mean, the feedback from the smartphone to the system is very important. On the other hand, it is dangerous, as mentioned by Dragos, that without filtering, maybe the system will receive nonsenses, nothing, rubbish. So in this case, I think that we have to think seriously, first, the interface between the smartphone app and the radar system, unless Yasin already did it, he will tell us tomorrow. And the second is, if there has been developed a tool to filter the rubbish from the smartphone to the radars. And this is the critical point.
Well, clearly, this data is going to enter a database. If we want to use data from the database, then we can put this filter later on, based on a query, for example. Connecting, we will clearly collect all the data. This will also help us see how many rubbish we receive compared to the other. Let's get all the data, but yeah, of course, when we want to use it, and for what? For shake maps, for example, we will have probably a different shake map, one based on instrumental intensity, one based on the feedback of people. Otherwise, combining them probably is not going to be
it's a difficult
choice.
Question, so perhaps our coordinator has an answer.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of two things. First is not to use, as we have said since the beginning, there will be one-way traffic from the platform, maybe the list of earthquakes and so on, but not vice versa, because it needs some kind of filtering, migration, and so on. And it would help to know if we can merge somehow our feedback with EMSC's feedback. And that was an idea.
We have
Florian, we already have a huge,
yes.
Let's say, user base, and we could contribute with more users. If we could merge feedback from both sources, let's say, then we would have a much higher number of people who report, and then, you know, a false, let's say, alarm or false report would appear very easily. It would very easily be eliminated, because, for instance, you would have a report of, let's say, flood, as you suggested earlier, but it would be the only one in an area where all the rest would be much lower. So that would resolve the problem, but I don't know if we had, if you had come to a kind of a contact or a
we do have our contacts, and could happen because there are discussions. Yes, what I'm showing here is also that also at INFP or NIEP, how we want to abbreviate it. We are also collecting this did you feel it data, also as the REDACt application would do. And what we, this is quite recent, what we do with this data, if you look at this map, you can see data from the fast responses and from the more detailed questionnaire. This is was chose to be aggregated for a specific grid cell. I don't know, it's probably 10 by 10 kilometers. And it's a mediated value. This is an example for a recent Romanian earthquake, magnitude 4.1, not in the Vrancea area, in another area. This is an example of what we are doing, and could be also done if we want. We did not write in the proposal specifically this, so it's our decision. Basically, this tool also is linked to a database. This database.
This is did you fill it data from?
This is just did you fill it data.
From which application?
This is from the website of our institute.
Ah, okay.
1,000 answers for this event.
Yes, it's. I think it's a very large number for a website. I don't want to diminish your institute, but it's spectacular.
This was
felt
earthquake.
I think from previous efforts I have seen, with a very striking example of L'Aquila earthquake, it's very interesting to collect. It will be done, of course, automatically, the one-way data transfer to our system without any filtering. And what you can see is, in the first 20 minutes, after the earthquake, the area that is strongly affected, nobody will reply because they don't care to reply. So what you see is a gap. So the time variation is very important. And then you understand that in this area, in La Puila, for example, in the first 20 minutes, no response. No response is a very good information that there the damage is huge. Then the second thing is that we can decide now, tomorrow or days after, the did you feel it information, and some publications have showed it clearly, for intensities lower than 6, when you don't have damage and you don't need an expert to give you the correct information, but you, your brother, your sister can give the information, is quite correct. I felt it, that I had the fall of this subject, object, then I mean that these two information can be used directly by the smartphone up to the system, to my point of view. And then filtering is another story we can go in the next project. But these two information are very valuable for the application to collaborate with the REDACt system.
Please, Vasilis, I think it was...
No, please, coordinator. Nicholas, we are passing each other the board, so okay, I will add to that. So it will be very much interesting to link the smartphone up to the educational hub as well, because everybody will have access to it. So, for instance, reports, I felt it, could appear on the educational hub, you know, for everybody to get to understand what's going on. One more thing I would like to mention is that I recently read there was an application where each cell phone, because cell phones include an accelerator inside, was used as an accelerometer and reported to a specific server. It was an application, I think, developed by some Italians. Anyway, I saw that Google is going to offer this service. So you register your account in Google, and then your cell phone, if you want to.
Google already does this.
Already
in
does
the
it?
recent Android version, they included automatically this capability.
Not in every country.
They could use for all countries, but
Anyway.
they have a selection. But
Probably
they're
this
moving
is-
towards also this
Yeah,
part of the world.
This is kind of
Just presented this
automatic
thing.
reporting, let's say, in terms of I felt it, but there certainly has to be some testing
For
and
education,
filtering and everything else.
yes. Also, one of our advantages could be also to the fact that we are collecting this data in multiple countries. So we're not going to stop at borders. Having the applications with translations in all our languages, okay. Images don't require so much translations, but having feedback from cross-border people, we will.
On our
It will be important.
we have one filter which intensity we publish. It is
Okay.
inside in the back of the application. It is one filter, some condition between VGA near the reporter or if near the people who report 10 degree. We found it is other reporters with 10 degree. And we keep this, but we keep some time, some 10 minutes, half of hours. If I don't have any other people who report 10 degree, we
check. Of course, we need to be careful because there are
I'm
differences.
feeling it is a filter or an scenario, right?
It's logical, but we have different types of structures.
I discussed this with our programmers and software engineering, but I don't remember because we have a lot of possibilities.
I think that we have
problem with different types of structures. Here in Bucharest, for instance, we have old houses, we have new houses, and so on. So perception of the intensity for somebody who reports is very different. I mean, if a resident in an old house can see, walls breaking and stuff falling and so on, it will be totally different than somebody living in a different place. So
yes, if you don't ask them,
also, it's not that somebody reports and it's a voice of somebody who is at risk. I mean,
probably a key aspect here is the number of responses.
Exactly. So this is why I suggested to merge EMSC and
but also we should avoid double reports from the same people, so it's kind of tricky. Vasilis had, I think, some...
of course, yes. Dragos, very interesting actually your presentation, but I would like to add something, just as a completed point to Nikos mentioned. Actually, for this field philosophy, there is a huge discussion. The field is a little bit different. Depends on the country that we try to apply, and also EMSC put some specific criteria. How can use these field questionnaires, and after that, how can we filtering all this information in order to have a kind of homogenized data for a huge area, let's say for three or four different countries. So I'm just wondering, just my feeling is, if you took in your account this kind of criteria, or you are now working on this. This is something to do in the future.
Well, their criteria more or less, as we've also talked with Remy Bossuet and the other, are not actually so much filtering nowadays what is on their website. If you look at what is there, they're somehow relying on a lot of answers, somehow putting the wrong answers in the background.
You mean that they put any answers to
yes.
The database?
They made what you said some couple of years ago, and after some research, they decided that we don't need this anymore, because we are, first of all, popular, a lot of answers, which also, when mediating the values, show that results are reasonable, and they're not filtering anymore. In order for us, clearly, we could do these extra steps and so on. But if we do this, maybe also linking our data with their data could be tricky. We could follow, preferably, in my opinion, the same procedure.
And we don't want to show the people that we think that we are not popular.
Yeah.
What we said before.
Also.
Okay. I think the key question is how we can combine data at this point, because when the application is in the early stages of release, I don't believe that we should expect a very large number of responses that could lead to some results such as intensity maps or so we must talk about this tomorrow.
It depends on the promotion. It depends on the promotion.
Yes, but not
it depends on the promotion.
I
what we are going to do in this.
For example, one question would be if someone is an ESMC user, would he also download and use our application as well and report in both platforms? And all this is, yes, we should discuss about
generally, if we provide something interesting to the user, he will prefer our application rather than EMSC.
And I was going to ask Oma, what's the average number of people responding to the upgrade? For NIEP.
So for NIEP, recently I made this analysis. So we are getting clearly for earthquakes in Romania more answers than EMSC nowadays. In the past 4 years, people started to be aware that they can fill in. We are also constantly asking them to fill in these questionnaires also through social networks. And I made this comparison. Generally, we have twice as many answers than EMSC.
Twice more than.
Using a cell phone app as well, or just the site, the website?
Just the website we are using. I mean, we also have a smartphone application of INFP, but it's not so popular at the moment.
So what it will be then? I mean, if we have an application of REDA and yet there will be two applications.
Don't worry, this is gonna be fine. Also, what we found out, and we as people, personally, I don't like installing many other applications and having now listed. It's too many applications. If a web browser interface does this, and it's the case also for NFP, and it's easy to send this data through a web browser, so you don't install an application, then I'm going to be fine with it, and many users are going to be fine. The catch is if that our REDA application, if it does something additional and very nice, such as good notification, allowing, for example, the user also to select very specifically and nice which notification to be sent, which sounds to configure. There is also this discussion, so I haven't reached it, but it would be nice also if the application allows you to have notifications. I want earthquakes greater than 7, for example, just in my area. And I can select also a specific sound based on the memory in my phone. Then we have, let's say, something good.
We have reports on the application and the apps. Is report of intensity effect. It is on the computer application. You have one report, no? Intensity of the effect.
So for collecting, in our case, INFP.
No, in our institute, I know.
Okay.
What we have. But in the REDACt.
In the REDACt, we will have just, for the moment, have just the smartphone app. Only the smartphone app.
Okay.
Smartphone app.
Because in our system we have only on the web page.
Exactly.
And from the app, we go in direct to our.
We should discuss it tomorrow extensively because we can support the application with the educational app and vice versa.
Yes.
So they are interlinked.
Yeah.
And already we had in Greece, we had, let's say, a warm acceptance of the educational app. So we can promote the use of the smartphone app, which is complementary. It adds, which doesn't do the same thing. So we could achieve something, but we could resolve this issue of, uncertainty and so on, if we could provide the user bases from different resources. That would be a good idea.
Our choice was to keep the individual questionnaire on the institute because sometimes we change the questionnaire or we can change the picture or something, and the app it is a commercial one. Sometimes you pay it now for the improved apps, and after 1 year or 2 years.
This could also be the discussion here.
Yes,
but one does not, restrict the other. I mean, this keep away presents the things, but the app would be used like clicks, like those, like.
You mean how to maintain it?
No, about maintenance is a different issue.
Yeah.
Also regarding the application here, I mean, we are developing it, as mentioned, with a company which has a strict contract. Of course, they have maintenance for 1 year. What happens after?
Next project.
Next project.
We keep one simple app.
Since I'm the moderator in this part of the meeting, and I think that we have already exceeded the roundtable discussion. This was a roundtable discussion, wasn't it? It was. And we all agreed. Okay, that's good. Do we want to address any more issues today, or we leave the discussion for tomorrow? And we have some stakeholders probably who want to express some more suggestions or ideas.
Today I'd like to propose some change for tomorrow with my colleagues from Romania. Possible to morning 9 o'clock to go to the General Inspectorate for Emergency Situation to explain this presentation. Half hour, not more. I don't know. It's near here your hotel, maybe 5 minutes by walk. And after that we will organize transport here from the EGCU.
So that tomorrow we should start the meeting here, not at 10 o'clock, but 10:30 or something like that.
No, you start 10 o'clock. Only colleagues from Romania begin earlier for 1 hour.
We go? You will go, you will be 10 o'clock here.
We are being on time, so no problem. Yes, we have an
okay.
Supplement to action in the framework of project, if possible. Because my colleagues who live now discuss with government a very interesting topic, a special smartphone application for the General Inspectorate for Emergency Situation. Tomorrow we'll be meeting with other officers and colleagues can explain in Romanian language other officers, without a translator, without some difficulty.
We could also explain in Romanian language, but you couldn't understand. So, are we closing for today? I think that's enough for everybody. Thanks everybody for their attendance, participation and questions, and we will meet again tomorrow morning. Oh no, tonight. Thank you.